The Life of Immanuel Kant by Brittany Cabrera. In this presentation, I'm going to go over the life and legacy of Immanuel Kant and how he related his beliefs and teachings to his life. I'll start with an overview, his early years, and explain his theories on transcendental idealism and the categorical imperative. Then I'll go over his later years, his three critiques, the end of his life, and finally his legacy. Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher from the age of the Enlightenment. As one of the most influential thinkers of his time, he established what is known today as the Kantian ethics. He is best known for his teachings on tying moral law to reason. Nothing is divine but what is agreeable to reason. A key concept in Kantian ethics was autonomy. He felt a deep urge to replace religious authority with reason and to ultimately help everyone to be good. He wrote many works during his life and came up with many important theories, such as transcendental idealism and the categorical imperative, and felt passionate about aesthetics. He lived a very regimented life and truly embodied all his ideals he taught. Immanuel Kant was born on April 22, 1724, just over 300 years ago. He was born in Königsberg, Prussia, which is now known as Kaliningrad, Russia. He was raised by his parents Johann George Kant and Regina Dorothea Roeder. While his parents lived a modest life, they were very religious and loving. Kant recalled growing up in a loving and calm household. As devout Pietist Lutherans, Kant's parents' religious background influenced a lot of his theories he is known for today. With the help of the family's pastor, Kant was able to attend school starting at 8 years old. He spent 8 years there and then enrolled in the University of Königsberg, where he discovered his love for math and physics and would go on to spend most of his life as a professor. Immanuel Kant was known for his strict daily routine, which set the groundwork for him to be able to accomplish all that he set out to do. After years of working as a professor at the University of Königsberg, Kant published the first of his three critiques, the Critique of Pure Reason, which put him on the map as one of the most influential philosophers during the Enlightenment. This book focused on his idea of transcendental idealism, what may be the case with objects in themselves, and abstracted from all this receptivity of our sensibility remains entirely unknown to us. Transcendental idealism is the concept that our perception of the world around us isn't a direct reflection of reality. Kant came up with three faculties of cognition, aka cognitive powers of the mind, which are sensibility, understanding, and reason. Sensibility, the power of the mind to have an intuition and predict what something will look like outside of our experience with it. Understanding, the power of the mind that allows us to conceptualize things. And last, reason, the power of the mind to explore explanations. To prove his idea, Kant explained phenomena versus noumena. Phenomena describes how we perceive the appearance of objects existing outside the mind, while noumena, as Kant describes them, as things in themselves, which is the object as it truly exists. For example, Kant speaks about space and time. He mentions that they are objective ideas and that though we can't necessarily see them, we can see how our mind perceives them. In 1785, Immanuel Kant published the groundwork of the Metaphysics of Morals, which introduced his idea of the categorical imperative. As a result of his religious upbringing, Kant sought out to replace morality based on religious beliefs with a moral law based on reason. Act so that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or that of another, always as an end, never merely as a means. Similar to the Golden Rule, do to others as you would have them do to you. This concept focuses on autonomy and the idea of treating each person and yourself with respect and dignity, not because you're told to by a higher power or authority, but because you truly want to. What Kant means by treating ourselves and others as an end, never merely as a means, is that we all exist to become our best selves. This idea was meant to be followed as a law. If everyone held the same moral values, everyone would be treated fairly. Act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. In short, Kant felt that everyone had a moral duty to do good all the time. You shouldn't do something simply because you feel like it. You should do it because it's your duty to do what's morally right, and you'd expect others to do the same. For example, Kant felt strongly about lying. Say the maxim, which according to Kant is a law, is lying. If you want to lie, that would mean everyone else should also be able to lie. Immanuel Kant lived his life following the idea of the categorical imperative by upholding his moral beliefs in the way he treated himself and others. He also made sure to carve out time each day to perfect his skills and improve his moral self development, and to even make time for friends. He lived a humble life, not giving in to materialistic temptations because he knew that wasn't what really mattered. He worked tirelessly to become the best version of himself, which he believed would erase any selfishness or weakness that didn't live up to his moral code. He even went as far as to not marry twice because he felt that marriage would interfere with his life's goals. He was a true example of his moral code. Later in life, between the years of 1786 and 1796, Immanuel Kant published many more works, including the Critique of Practical Reason in 1788. This was his second critique, which highlighted ethics. He believed that fulfilling our potential is our moral duty, and he spent his entire life doing just that. He spent every day the same way, waking up at 5 a.m. to complete his morning routine, working as a professor at the University of Königsberg. Then he scheduled out time to write and work on his books, have lunch, and spend dedicated time with a close friend. Next, he'd take a walk in nature, and he would spend his evenings reading and would be in bed by 10 p.m. He believed that life without structure was draining and it would deprive you of reaching your goals. So you should organize your life in a way to help follow through with your goals and achieve them. The Critique of Judgment was published in 1790 and was the final critique of the series. This critique highlights aesthetics, beauty, and art. Kant believed that beauty also requires reason and that it is subjective. Just like his notion of transcendental idealism, beauty brings out a feeling of pleasure, yet the way each person perceives it is different. He felt as though beauty was a reminder of a common universal being, which means everyone sees and appreciates beauty in the same way, no matter how young or old, rich or poor. This solidifies his idea that everyone is equally important. Immanuel Kant was sure to make time for beauty in his own life, particularly art. He made it a point to make time for the simple pleasures in life, and although he was known for his strict routine, he incorporated time with friends and walks in nature into his daily schedule. He was even known for hosting dinner parties where he'd meticulously plan the conversation so that everyone left feeling a sense of fulfillment. In 1795, Kant published Perpetual Peace, which was one of his last and most important works. He addressed the political events of his time, such as the Revolutionary Wars, and touched on topics of citizenship, justice, and even world peace. He thought if his moral laws were applied, war could end, and that the world could be at peace. He saw it as our moral duty to protect the rights and freedom of ourselves and everyone around us, which would result in a better development of the government and ensure peace in the world we live in. In 1796, Immanuel Kant became sick with an illness similar to what we know today as dementia. While Kantian ethics had begun being taught at many universities, and many turned to him for moral and ethical leadership, by 1797 he retired from his lifelong occupation as a professor at the University of Königsberg, which had become known as the Mecca of philosophy because of him. He stuck with his strict routine of walking, studying, and writing up until the end of his life in 1804, when he died peacefully. Staying true to his beliefs, Immanuel Kant's final words were Es ist gut, meaning it is good. He was buried in Königsberg, where he spent his entire life, and his tombstone reads, "Two things fill the mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe, the starry heavens above me and the moral law within me." The legacy of Immanuel Kant is long-lasting, and his ethics are still studied to this day. He influenced us to consider that reason is the root of morality and to strive to be better as humans according to his moral code. He came up with many groundbreaking theories, such as transcendental idealism and the categorical imperative, which are still widely studied and even debated today. His way of life and dedication to improving humanity and building the structure of his days around achieving that is something that we can all admire. Thank you for listening. I really enjoyed doing a deep dive into the life of Immanuel Kant and felt inspired by a lot of his ideas and theories. I especially admire how he held himself to such a high moral standard and how he stressed the importance of autonomy. One of my biggest takeaways was how hard he worked to achieve the goals he set, no matter how big or small. It reminded me how important it is to incorporate time for both self-development and the simple beauties of life to help me achieve my goals and to become the best version of myself. I hope this presentation gave you a better understanding of Immanuel Kant's life and teachings, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Here are my works cited. Thank you so much.